Hi, my name is Nick Noggle, and I work at an animation studio in Dallas, Texas called Real Effects Animation. Currently, we're working on our first theatrical release to come out in theaters November 1st called Freebirds. My job is I'm a lighting artist, and after the animators are done bringing those characters to life, I go into the 3D files and I place lights in those 3D spaces. And then the computer calculates using a bunch of math and technology and physics and engineering, figuring out the intensity, the color of that light and how that's going to interact with the surface. I got interested in this when Toy Story came out and started taking, I took the very first 3D animation class that was offered in our high school, and I thought that was pretty cool. It was really confusing. Then I majored in animation at Brigham Young University, and after 4 years there I did a graduate program at Texas A&M and got a Master's of Science in Visualization Sciences. We use a lot of science in what we do. I had to learn some computer science. You have to have a basic understanding of physics. I took a lot of art classes still, but those art classes were a lot of story, some drawing, and but also the 3D classes that we have to learn the software. You have to know a little bit of math, and it helps a lot if you know math when you're doing your computer programming classes. None of it's too heavy, but if I would have known what the power of math when I was in high school and understood why I was trying to find X, then maybe I would have paid a little bit better attention. I started to understand math better when I was applying it to a color and and how to get a color from a number in a computer, because in art we're just used to mixing paints together, but now art is really defined by math. The guys that invented what I do, they still work at Pixar. In fact, they're like, you see them walk around the hallways. It's not that old of an industry, and so you can see the people that came up with how do we make 3D animation, and these are the guys that, though they weren't the creative leads, they didn't creatively come up with these ideas, they knew the math and the science and the technology. The kids you're teaching, they're going to be like the next ones that come up with the next thing that will put audiences on the edge of their seats, or change the world. And after a while you start to realize that it's the nerds and the techies, the geeks, the engineers, and the mathematicians. These are the guys that kind of run the world.
I'm really no different than you guys, and you guys are going to hear my story, and you guys are going to say, wow, realmente es como nosotros. And the feeling I want to make sure you guys walk away with today es una de que agarren envidia, pero envidia de la buena, where you guys say, hey, if he was able to do it, why can't I do it? It was hard for me to learn English. We're going to different schools getting interrupted. And so my refuge era las matemáticas, because 1 + 1 is 2 in any language. So that's why I naturally became strong in math. The last Apollo mission went up, and man was walking on the moon. It was the very last Apollo mission, Apollo 17, 1972. And I was 9 years old, and everybody stopped and looked at the moonwalk because it was interrupted programming. And so our family was no different. We were watching it, and it just amazed me. I remember as I was holding that antenna, watching Gene Cernan walk on the moon. When the family had their fill, me dejaban soltar la antena, I would sit in front and watch it in amazement. Then I would go outside and I would see the moon. And I said, wow, to think that humans are up on the surface of the moon, 250,000 miles away. I said, how cool is that? I said, that's what I want to be. I want to be an astronaut. My dad sat me down He said, ¿Con que quieres ser astronauta? And I said, sí, señor. He said, well, you know what? I think you can do it. He says, but you need a recipe. You need a recipe, and I'm going to give you the ingredients. He said, first, what you need to do is you need to define what you want to be in life. And I said, oh, that's easy. I want to be an astronaut. He said, second, he says, you need to define where you're at. How far are you from that goal? I say, okay, migrant farm worker, from Mexico. Está bien. The third says you need to draw yourself a map of all the steps necessary to get you from that point to where you want to go. Y no se vale brincar escalones. You can't skip steps, because then that means you're not going to be well prepared at the end. You got to go through all the steps. I said, okay. And then he says, fourth, you got to get yourself an education. La educación es clave. He said, fifth and final, he said, that same work ethic you bring al campo en el trabajando piscando pepinos, duraznos, la uva, you got to take it to your books. And then you got to take it to your job once you graduate college. That, he says, you mix that, Pepe, and you can be whatever you want. The only other thing I would add to that recipe is perseverance. Porque it took me 12 times to get accepted to NASA. Me dijeron no 11 veces. Imagine if I would have given up the first time, second, third, or fourth time. I would have never became an astronaut. And the message I want to put forward to you guys is que todo es posible. Everything is possible. Coming from a migrant working background, I was able to realize my dream.
I was commissioned to do a painting of Stephen F. Austin and Jose Antonio Navarro. And they were apparently very good friends, so I had to do a little bit of research on that. And because only older photographs exist of Navarro, one drawing, but mostly photographs, an older gray-haired Navarro. And then Stephen F. Austin, only young portraits, no photographs, young portraits of him exist. So in doing my research, I realized that Stephen F. Austin died when he was 43. So that means that they were friends when they were in their 30s. I think Navarro was a few years older than Stephen F. Austin. So I had to come up with a younger Navarro. So I guess math was involved there, because I had to figure out how old they were when they knew each other. As far as this, each of these tiles is numbered. If they're not numbered, we're going to have a mess, because every tile has a home. So we have to figure out. Also, the existing wall has windows, so we have to really carefully measure everything to make sure that the blank tiles measure up with the windows. Otherwise, we may have to cut her out completely if we miscalculate where the window is. And we don't want any of the mural, the glazed pieces to be excluded. So we have to really be careful about measuring everything so that we're accurate. And science, mixing these glazes is very technical. For example, you don't want to fire any greens close to the reds. If it's a green with copper, it pulls pigment from the reds so that the reds come out almost clear or black. Certain colors can't be mixed together. Certain colors contain lead, so you don't want to use those colors on things that you're going to be eating off of. So that's where maybe some science, some knowledge of what you're working with is crucial.
My name is Luke Hutchison. I'm a software engineer at Google, where I work on Ray Kurzweil's artificial intelligence team. So we are building a reading comprehension system for the web that will allow Google to read the text on the web and answer questions about it. My background is I grew up in New Zealand, and I was programming as a hobby from about 9 years old until I got to college. And then in college I did a bachelor's and a master's in computer science, followed by a PhD in computer science at MIT, and then a postdoc. I believe that computer programming is the enabling skill for all of the sciences today. So if you want to be a very successful scientist, whether it's a biologist or a physicist or a mathematician, or a computer scientist or a software engineer or really anybody in any of the scientific fields, there's so much data today that you can't get your job done if you don't write program code. The most important way to prepare a kid for an incredible future in the sciences and the technology fields is simply to help them to find their passion, whatever that is, and to let that passion drive their learning. You don't have to teach them anything if they become passionate about something, because they'll simply teach themselves.